Gold has garnered a lot of attention in the past few weeks with its record-setting run. Since the end of February, gold is up nearly 7% and set an all-time record high of $2,195 an ounce along the way. This is really good news for silver. Wait, that wasn't a typo. I meant silver. I've been arguing that silver is drastically underpriced, given the supply and demand dynamics for quite a while now. With gold setting up for an extended rally, silver could be poised for a record-setting launch of its own, and it just might steal gold's spotlight. In fact, mainstream analysts are starting to take notice. A recent CNBC article declared, and I quote, "Gold prices could keep climbing, but analysts expect silver to steal the show before too long," end quote. The gold rally. Anticipation of Federal Reserve rate cuts and worries about de-dollarization sparked the gold's recent bull rally. I've argued that this is just the opening act. The US government isn't going to just suddenly become fiscally responsible or more reserved in using the power of the dollar as a foreign policy tool, so de-dollarization will likely continue and accelerate. And the mainstream is right. Rate cuts are coming, but not for the reason that most people think. The narrative is the Fed has about got inflation whipped, and last week, Federal Chairman Jerome Powell said, "Inflation is not fair from where it needs to be to start rate cuts. Meanwhile, the economy is going to cruise to a soft landing." See, there are two problems with this fairy tale. One, inflation isn't whipped. In fact, it seems intent on sticking around. Furthermore, the Fed hasn't done enough to rein in price inflation. And two, the economy is broken, and another financial crisis is on the horizon. The economy wasn't built to operate with interest rates at this level. It's only a matter of time before it cracks, as it did back in 2008. And just a side note, what happened in 2008 led to $50 silver 3 years later. So when the economy cracks, we all know what the Fed will do. It will run to the rescue. It will slash rates to zero. It will relaunch quantitative easing, also QE, and it will unleash another tsunami of easy money. What is gold going to do then? If this recent rally based is on the hope of rate cuts was this big, the rally we'll see when the Fed actually delivers rate cuts far beyond what anybody today expects will likely send the price into orbit. And that's great news for silver. Better news for silver than gold. The case for silver. Silver tends to get overlooked. It is often referred to as gold's little brother or its poor cousin. But while the price of silver is much more volatile, it generally correlates with gold over time. And in fact, historically, silver tends to outperform gold in a gold bull market itself. This was the case during the pandemic, as gold pushed above $2,000 an ounce, charting a 39% gain. Silver rallied to $30 an ounce with a 147% increase. Silver was actually the number one performing asset in 2020. It outbeat Tesla stocks, it beat Amazon, it beat everything. Silver was the number one performing asset in 2020. 147% increase. But a lot of stackers are new and didn't even know silver did that back then. So here's how an analyst explained it to CNBC, which that's a whole other crazy situation. Now we have mainstream media covering silver. Now, this is what an analyst explained to CNBC, and I quote, "Here's what usually happens with silver. It does move with gold, but it moves later. Gold will shoot up first, and then you'll see silver take off rapidly, and it always outperforms gold. It's just late. Over the last month, silver has quietly charted a gain of nearly 12%, once again outperforming gold, but silver has plenty of sky above it. Even as gold set a new record, the white metal remains about $5 below its 2020 high and about $25 an ounce below its record. The gold to silver ratio is at 86-1, which reflects the discrepancy between the two precious metals. And that means it takes 86 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. This is historically a widespread. The average gold to silver ratio in modern era is around 40 to 1 to 60 to 1. It's actually a little higher, around 75 to 1. But historically, it's around 16 to 1. But in a normal economy in today's time, it's around 70 to 1 is normal, quote unquote. So, and this is when the ratio widens far beyond that range in recent years. That means it typically returns towards that mean, saying since it's 86 to 1, it's going to stop dropping down to the more normal ratio, meaning that silver is going to start outperforming gold. So the pandemic era provides a more recent example. As the Fed rate cuts and launched quantitative easing to prop up the shaky economy caused by rate hikes in the prior year, the gold to silver ratio climbed to nearly 93 to 1. And as silver rallied along the way, the gold to silver ratio plunged from over 100 to 1 to just 64 to 1. It was actually 125 to 1. I don't know why they didn't mention that. In early 2020, around the March-April time period, the gold to silver ratio was 125 to 1. We'll be reading about that in history books. 125 to 1. And that was back when silver was like $11 and gold was, still breaking records. And after that, shortly, was when silver jumped 147% and became the number one performing asset. But, regardless, when the ratio is that high, it always drops back down. So it was over 100 to 1 to just over 64 to 1. It close to the high end of the historical norm. And then you could see Macquarie, head of commodity strategy, Marcus Gravy, told CNBC that he thinks the expectation of rate cuts is setting up gold very well. Call it risk positive. And that bodes well for silver. And I quote, from silver's perspective, it is sort of round numbers, really. You want to get comfortably clear of the $24 level to feel that you've got a bit more room to run. And then the supply and demand dynamics also look good for silver. Silver's demand is expected to hit 1.2 billion ounces this year, according to the Silver Institute. That would rank as the second highest annual silver demand on record. Record industrial demand for silver is expected to drive overall silver offtake this year. Garvey said if global economic growth picks up, that could push silver even higher. And I quote, then I would expect silver to go from a relative underperformer to gold to being relative outperformer to gold over really the third and fourth quarter of the year. The green energy movement is driving a big surge in demand for silver. Since governments are pushing this initiative, it should be a relatively recession-proof sector. Government money will likely keep flowing if the global economy struggles. And all of those factors are why Money Metals Exchange Director wrote, silver is poised to play catch-up to gold. The silver price may be lagging behind the gold price in the futures market, but it would be foolish to assume that implies some sort of permanent divergence between the two metals. And that's a good point. I don't think a lot of people realize how temporary this could be. Even just a couple years ago, silver was $11 and then shot up 147%, right? A lot of people are stuck to, they think these are permanent things, and it's so far from the truth. Most of the firms trading futures don't care about gold supply and demand either. The electronic markets appear increasingly unhinged from reality. And then for long-term holders of gold and silver, nothing has changed. Both metals make sense to own given the times we're living in. And then silver looks cheap relative to gold, and retail silver premiums have come way down. Now is the time to get frustrated with or fooled by silver's lagging price. Odds are the poor man's gold will catch up over time. And that I couldn't agree anymore. They made a lot of good points. I didn't want to keep branching off after a point they made. Usually I'll do that, is I'll go sentence by sentence and throw my 2 cents in on what they thought, what they said, or what I think the context is behind that, or adding a little more context, or what I think about I just wanted to read this article all the way through. It was very well written. They brought a lot of good points, especially the beginning. I usually cover the second half of this type of stuff with, the supply and demand dynamics, but the beginning, it was very well written. I like how they really honed into inflation and interest rates and this delusion that people have when looking at gold's performance or how good gold is doing, and not realizing that's actually even more bullish for silver. It just takes a second longer, and it always does catch up. And like that quote said from CNBC, it always outperforms later. It's just later, and that later part is where most people give up. They don't have the patience. So yeah, I thought this is a very well written article. Like the end said, they both have their own benefits. It makes sense to own both, given the times we are living in. But a lot of people are overlooking silver, and I think they will be sadly kicking themselves in the butt, especially since you can get so much silver for so much cheaper than gold. So, yeah. Anyways, I thought this was a very well-written article. I'm going to wrap this video up here. I think I'm going to start live streaming multiple days a week. Just hang out with me while you guys see me finding articles like this, and we could hang out, and I can, debate you guys. If anyone has anything they think I'm saying that they want to challenge me on, I'd love to, I'd love to challenge you on it or debate you. I think that'd be fun to kind of have some friction between two people. I would love to do that. Bring you on a Zoom call or whatever. That would definitely be fun content. But also, you guys just can hang out. Maybe we could brainstorm video ideas or new topics, or you could see how I dive into all these articles and spend hours upon hours of research making sure I find the most important and good content out there. So I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe. My giveaway's still open for anyone who didn't enter already. Chance to win silver. And if you wanted to purchase silver, Slayer at milesfranklin.com. We have some great deals. New deals tomorrow, actually. Silver, gold, and platinum or palladium. Don't know which one, but yeah. Always have new deals every Monday, so stay tuned for that as well. We also have a huge inventory. Thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.